Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday night live emotional awareness discussion. I'm waiting for my guest to join me, hopefully very shortly. He confirmed today he will be here, so fingers crossed that nothing's changed in between. But you know, this show, we're always in for a surprise. Whether we do have a guest, whether we don't have a guest, we're always in for a surprise. But fingers crossed he will be here any moment. So in the meantime, I'm just going to try and find something to fill you in and update you a little. Actually, tonight we should have Chris Moon MBE, which should be talking about A Step Beyond. And this is a very relevant title to his story. And we'll go from there when this comes about. In the meantime, next week, again, yet to double confirm, but we should have a Duncan Bashcombe Brown. And he will be talking about Groggy to Great and his journey, as the title very clearly describes, about recovery from alcohol addiction. After that, I have an empty lineup, so I am looking for new speakers from 2 weeks' time. But when I think back to when I did the original 28-day challenge at 2 nights' notice, and I had 25 speakers over 28 nights, I've got 2 weeks to plan, so I'm not panicking. So we will have speakers by the time we get to there, and I've got some people in mind, people who want to join. So that's all exciting and good news. So to fill in a little bit for a moment tonight, for anybody who's joining from Facebook, I'm just going to do a quick update on there, and then also on YouTube. I'm just going to do a quick update on my social media while we're waiting for Chris to come and join us. So let me share screen. This one, here we go. So first of all, this is my personal profile, Reeve. So if I can scroll up on the right page, Brain Unchained, you've got my header there. See very clearly, orange is my colour. I love it. And that's the colour that represents change. Mastering life is all about mastering change. That is my core message. And so that is why I use orange a lot, because it's on my system over here with the emotional cycle. It's the colour that represents change, and that's why it's so powerful. So for anybody who's coming on live, thank you ever so much for joining me. We're just waiting for Chris to join us, so I'm just doing a quick update in between, and hopefully he'll be with us shortly after confirming with me that he will be here. Fingers crossed, because things do change. Hi Jeff, good to see you this evening, thank you. But I know people's lives do change and we never know, so hopefully fingers crossed he will be here in a minute. So this is my personal profile, which is orange, and you can always come and watch the live show on here, and it's always going to be at the top here. It says going live soon. That's last week's. I probably need to refresh the page, and then you should see it playing, so it'll probably be echoey for a second, but I'll turn it off again. And there we go, it's there. That's us talking. So yeah, that's what we're on now. The other thing is I share this every week on my Facebook group. So if you're not in the Facebook group and you want to join, please do. I have other things go on in here, although it's been a little bit quiet the last couple of weeks. But my Facebook group, I've specifically used a much more cheerful colour, yellow, so that when you're flipping between the two, it's obvious which one you're in. So the orange one is my personal profile and the yellow header is my group. It is a closed group. We've got 275 members. These comments in here cannot be seen by public, apart from what you're going to see tonight, but they're just my comments. And then again, that's the one that we're now playing. So there's 2 ways to watch this show. I always post on LinkedIn that we will be doing the show. I always post it on there somewhere. I've commented here today. But it doesn't play live on LinkedIn. It just puts the link to YouTube. So just switching over to YouTube as well, just so everybody gets a quick update of everything, because I know some people watch on Facebook, on my profile, some in the group, some from YouTube, and some people watch it later from wherever it is. And shout out to my dad, because I know he always watches it on the replay on YouTube every single week, and it gives me some very constructive feedback every week too. Thanks Dad, I love it. And I've sorted all my sound issues out. So if anybody saw last week's and noticed that I had that amazing conversation with Jonathan Trowan about self-love and self-acceptance, but there was a sound issue on my end, so my volume was very quiet compared to Jonathan's. So very quickly, this is the emotional awareness live discussion on YouTube this is the playlist, but all 52 conversations are going into this playlist. So if anybody's not seen these before, wants to catch from the beginning, this is number 34 of the 52-week challenge. So we're really digging into this challenge now. And you can see it's live now as we speak. Just waiting for Chris. Come on, Chris. We're waiting for him. I don't think he's responded to me yet. I just checked my messages. Haven't heard back. Tried calling him, but his phone's switched off, I think. So fingers crossed. Won't be the first time. And there's always something happens. There's a reason for these things. So I never worry about it. Oh, I just clicked on something by mistake there. I don't want it to overplay us. Let me go back to, not BNI, where we're looking at. YouTube. Right, basically again, YouTube, I have my own channel on here, which is where I put my videos. And again, at the moment, it's actually showing at the top that we are going live, which is great. And that's also on the playlist. And then you can go to the playlist and find the 52-week challenge there. Normally when I'm not live, there will be a set video here for anybody who's coming onto the channel brand new, an introductory video. And then if anybody subscribes, please don't forget to subscribe and hit like and notification bells, because then it tells you every week when we're going live. And that all comes into play in there. And there is, now I'm going to go on to playlist, but it will show you more than you will see, because it will also show you my private and personal ones. So you see some of the ones I got private. But there are the 52-week discussion, emotional awareness discussion, all the book launch updates down here as well. So when I did the original book launch back in January, and then I started doing the 12-week personal development challenge. I did stop after 3 weeks so far, and I will come back and finish them, because it's not just about following through in order, but eventually that will collate to be like a 3-month program that's not so much based around my book, although there's snippets of it, but it's just a little challenge for anybody who's feeling a little bit overwhelmed and just wants to pick up some tips and tricks along the way that may help them to feel better. And it's like having a toolbox of about 60 different tools, and you pick and choose the ones that suit you. You know, you might be a carpenter, a plumber, or something else in real life, and you'll have different tools. And the same emotionally, we're all a little bit different, and we all need different tips, tricks and tools to help us through. And it's just to give a little 5 to 10 minute sampler of lots of different things to show people that there is no one right way to deal with emotional awareness and overwhelm and depression, anxiety and stress. There's lots of ways, and it's finding your way that's important. So yes, that's basically my YouTube channel, which is, if anybody's looking for it, it's Reeve Brain Unchained. So I come off of those for tonight now. We're done with those. I will leave Facebook going in the background for now. So I said hi to Jeff, or hey Kay, Heather, Warren, and I hit, oh my goodness, you're all there, family day, hey, hi. So Karen, Warren and Heather all watching in from Arkansas, America, thank you very much. And Yvette, hi Yvette, lovely to see you again, who is literally just round the corner from me. So we've got both ends of the globe here tonight watching. And Jeff also in the UK, but from a bit further down south in the UK. So great to see you all. What I'm now going to do, this is always worrying when I've really pushed a show and my guest doesn't show. I have to say, do you know what, that's okay. That's okay. This is not the first time it happened. And we have to go with it. And one of the messages I want to talk about tonight around that is it's okay not to be okay. And that is something, I'm going to come off here a minute, stop screen. That is something that my emotional awareness has come from, something that my strategies and my books have come from, is because I've experienced those moments where it's not okay, where I'm not okay. And I've certainly lived for many years with my son going through the it's not okay moments, except he wouldn't accept that it's okay not to be okay. And that was when we had the big struggle, the big battles, the anger, we had the suicidal depression, we had the shutting the world out for years because he couldn't accept that it's okay not to be okay. And he thought he'd got to fight it. And the more he tried to fight it, the worse it was. And the more obvious it was, the bigger the struggle was. And I recognised all of that in him because I'd myself, about when my son was about a year old, I'd been the same position where I'd been denying having postnatal depression. And I got to that point where I hit rock bottom really, really hard. And it was a very stressful time. And for me, at the time, I wasn't suicidal, but I was scared of what I might do to either neglect my children or hurt my children, because I was in such a state emotionally. And it was that very day that I finally had the courage to pick the phone up and ring somebody and say, I'm not okay, that actually things started to turn around and get better. That was my worst day that day. And I think that's the thing, is to, when you understand emotional awareness more, in terms of, for a lot of you, I know you've all watching here tonight seen this emotional cycle so many times, but when you get to that point, you hit rock bottom. Your rock bottom might be very different from somebody else's rock bottom, and your rock bottom on one occasion might be different to rock bottom on another occasion, different circumstances, different situation altogether. But it's always that moment that you acknowledge that things are not okay, that you can then start to turn them round and things begin to improve. And I've been there myself again recently. A lot of people again who've spoken with over the last year or so know that I had a very difficult year last year, losing my home, losing my job and losing my marriage. And people have said to me, losing is the wrong word. People have said you're transforming from it, and I've looked at all the different terminology, I've looked at the positive mindsets. And actually Chris Moon, who is supposed to be my guest here tonight, where are you, Chris? Come on, I'm reaching out to you across the universe. It is gone 7 o'clock, please come and join me. I saw Chris speak about 4 years ago. I had the absolute fortune to spend time talking with him one-on-one when he came to the place where I worked to do a speech, a motivational speech for all the engineers. But I greeted him, got him a coffee, helped him set all the tech up, ready to go, and he arrived about an hour before the talk, so I had that hour to spend with him, talking with him, finding out more about him, what he did. And then I had the privilege of being able to sit in that meeting with the engineers and listen to his speech. I was overwhelmed when he finally agreed to come on the show. I really felt honoured that he's agreed to come on here. I just don't know what's actually happening tonight. Just getting it's worrying, because this was a big one for me. This is a big one for me. But there was so much power in Chris's story, and the times that he talked through, where he had been through war, he'd been captured, like ambushed, held at gunpoint, things like this. And I don't want to give too many spoilers. But then also, after he'd come through a very long story there, he went mine clearing and accidentally stood on a mine, and what should have been a clear route was not a clear route. And this gentleman literally gave an arm and a leg to serve for our country. Mine clearing in Mozambique. I said Cambodia when I was introducing him last week, but it's Mozambique. And to hear how he told his story of those very, very, oh bless, thank you, Jeff. To hear how he told his story about being in that moment where he stepped on the mine, where it went off, where he was on the stretcher and he remembers all the medical people around him. And his mindset in those moments was what absolutely amazed me. But as much also the bit where he'd been captured before, and it was to do with the words. Whatever situation he was in was saying, oh, it can't get any worse than this. And then it got worse. And he said, oh no, it can't get any worse than this. And so he started to realise that he needed to stop saying, it can't get any worse than this, because it can always get worse. And so and that for me was one of the most powerful speeches that I'd had the honour to see, that helped me through last year. Is that everything that happened, I always reminded myself that whatever had happened, I know things could have been a lot worse. Yes, I lost my home, I lost my job, I lost my marriage, but I didn't lose the life of any of my loved ones. I didn't lose my dignity. I didn't lose many other things. I didn't lose the ability to write my book or all the stuff in my head. I didn't lose my own life. You know, there was so many things that could have been far, far worse. And it wasn't. And Chris's words, of all people's, were the ones that got me through a lot of that. And then I really, really focused last year from October on writing the book. Like I October, November. So I handed my notice in October and left the job I was training for to do this. So November to December I wrote the book, I published it. December to January I created the website. That was the other one I didn't show you, was the website and where to watch on there. I'll come to that one in a sec. But I focused so much on getting that and was determined that my year was going to end better than it had started. I was determined that was going to happen. And so we did all that. We launched the book in January. And I seemed to feel stuck there. So from January to here, although there is still a lot of really, really good things happened, and I've been networking, I've made a lot of amazing connections, I've been creating a load of videos, I just seem to have felt stuck there. And it's not just work, it's also because of all the lockdowns we've had since last year. My social life has been non-existent beyond doing these weekly and seeing family members from time to time. So my social life felt stuck there as well. And then there's my health. I started this year with absolute determination to take care of my health, resolve a number of health issues. I won't go into details of them. But let's say 6 months down the line, I have tried a whole load of different things. I've paid hundreds of pounds out the bank, consulted with a number of different people, and unfortunately some supplements that I did try didn't have the reaction they should have done, and I ended up with a trip to A&E because we thought I had a blood clot on the brain. Thankfully it just turned out to be a reaction to some supplements, so I stopped taking them again. No disrespects to what the supplements were, it was more about me and my reaction to them. Other people probably take them absolutely fine. I just always happen to be the one that has the rare reaction to something. So I just got to this point where I'm like, I'm stuck with business, I'm stuck with personal life, I'm stuck with my health. And when life feels stuck, one of the things, again, coming back to the emotional awareness cycle, if you're not living somewhere where you're feeling happy, you will be stuck in one of the other three states: sad, angry or depressed. And there were some things I'm sad about because of my social life and life being very different to last year, like not being a whole family as we were, not having the connections that I had around my personal life. I'm angry about some things, but that's stuff that I've got to work out in my heart, and things that are personal to me, but I still need to work through some issues that are going on in the background. But because there was nothing going on to create this feeling of success and reward in the business, in my health or in my social life, I hadn't got anything going on up here. So I dropped to depression, and it's natural, it happens. And I hit depression pretty hard in July. Most of July I spent just sitting on the settee, playing something on my mobile phone or watching the telly in between making videos. And I'm not ashamed to say it, because the whole point of me doing all the discussions and the talks that I do is to help people realise that being depressed is not the end of the world. It's something to help you recognise what's going on in your life, or what's not going on in your life. And it's about being able to sit with that, not fight it. So unlike all the years where my son fought against it, or the time where I denied it when I was going through postnatal depression many years ago, because I have all the knowledge of what's in my book, what's in the emotional cycle here, all the stuff going on in my head, having emotional awareness does not stop you having those emotions, but what it does do is help you observe your own life very, very differently. So instead of taking 3, 6 months, a year to suddenly go, oh, hang on a minute, this isn't right, I can actually see it happening, and I can then try and make those changes back. And that's what I've been trying to do, is trying to make the right changes to change things back. And this month things are finally beginning to turn around. So I'm not afraid to say it's okay not to be okay. And yeah, for me, life hasn't been okay. But that doesn't mean life has been bad either. I've got a home to live in. I've got a car that I can drive when I want to go and see somebody. I've got my computer. I can talk on the videos. I've got other stuff going on in life, which I'm really, really grateful for. And that's when I started doing the 3-month video challenge. One of the things that I put in there that would have been in the Thank You Thursday, I think it was the second or third Thank You Thursday, was a default gratitude list. So on those days when you hit that rock bottom and you really feel like this is the worst it can get, it's first of all realising, yes, it could be worse, but it's okay where you are. It's not wrong to be where you are. It's the worst thing you can do is actually ignore it and deny it. But sit with it and understand it. That's more important. Like when a friend is not feeling right, rather than trying to cure them, sit with them. Just sit and hold the hand. And sometimes you have to do that for yourself. Just sit with yourself and listen to your own intuition, your own feelings, your own emotions. And just go with it and see what happens. And the answers will come to you, but the more you fight it, the more you try and force those answers, the less likely they are to happen. But at the same time, also be aware that if you're talking about the emotional cycle like a map, right? We talk about happy place. Where's your happy place? So imagine it like a map. This is a place, and down here is a dark place. So we're going to call it a happy place and a dark place. If you're in a dark place and you've lost your way back to the happy place, what do you do when you're lost when you're driving? You get out a map, and if you can't figure out where you are on a map, you're never going to find your way. Anywhere we are on a map, and sorry for whoever's coming in to join us late, thank you for joining us. We are still waiting for Chris to join us this evening after confirming he'll be here. I can't get a response from him to find out what's happening. So my fingers are crossed that he will join us before the end of the video. So carrying on with this okay not to be okay theme. If you're on a map and you are lost and you want to find your way to here, you can't find your way to here unless you know where you are on the map. So you have to start by identifying where you are, because if you're over here, you want different directions to here than if you're over here and you want directions to here. And then depending on whether you need to take the outer route, outer change in your life, or the inner route, inner thoughts, feelings and beliefs. So whichever route you need to take, you need to plan your route. And just like a car journey, you can't plan a route unless you know where point A is and point B, and then you plan the journey in between. So again, this is why the emotional awareness is so important in recognising where you are, where you want to be, and the route you need to take in between. And why you need to take that route. Do you need the external or internal route? Do you need the scenic route or the fast route? It's that analogy that's really helpful for people to recognise that actually by denying emotions, when you're lost, if you go, oh no, I'm not lost, the person who's lost and says, oh no, I'm not lost, I know where I'm going, and won't accept help from anybody, will continue to get lost and more angry and more frustrated. And the more frustrated they get, the more denial they get in about being lost. And it becomes this big, almost ego thing about, oh no, I'm not lost. I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm going. And we can all see where they're heading. Disaster. That's where they're heading. Disaster. So being able to acknowledge that in themselves against that emotional cycle. And it's because the emotional cycle is just those 4 colours, and then you've got inner and outer change. It's being able to mentally be able to, even just at any point in life, and that image goes in my head everywhere, just that emotional cycle diagram. And whenever I'm stuck with anything, I'm like, oh, where am I? Right, okay, yep. And I'm either, whether I'm sad, I'm angry, am I positive and motivated, am I feeling negative, whatever it is, I have to recognise first of all emotionally where I am, and secondly, where do I want to be? Why is it important to think, surely we think we all want to be happy. But what if what you need right now is not to be happy? What if what you need right now is to be calm or motivated as opposed to happy. Right? If you need to sit and be thoughtful about something, whether you need to get on and actually do something and get to that place where you're actually taking action again. So that's why it's also as important to know where you are heading on the emotional cycle. So first of all, where are you? And secondly, where do you want to be heading? Because only once you know those 2 points can you plan your journey. It might be here, it might be here, it might be here. You know, it's all important. Oh, I'm glad to cheer somebody up. Brilliant. Thanks for the smiley face. I love it. So it's all important to really understand both ends of that journey. And then it feels okay once you understand that to say it's okay not to be okay. And just the same as it's okay not to be okay tonight. Look, we are halfway in and I still don't have my guest speaker. I am so gutted. But at the same time, I understand life is life, things happen, and I'm sure there will be a very, very good reason for it, and it will all come out later on. Hopefully, fingers crossed, he will reschedule and come back another night. Fingers crossed. So yeah, it's okay not to be okay. So that really is my message that I had as a backup message tonight, just in case, because I do expect these things to happen. So I do like to have something to talk about. And so I don't go through these moments. I mean, well, I do go through these moments of depression, and then like July, August time, I've had this really deep depression that I've not had at that level, even through all of last year, since I had postnatal depression, and that's the deepest I've hit that. And I have phoned up and asked the right people for support and help, and I'm going through that process. But more importantly, it makes it okay. It's difficult for me to then say, okay, well, I'm supposed to be this emotional awareness expert, but I'm feeling depressed. So then I get this imposter syndrome, which is what actually we were talking to Jonathan Trowan about, the conversation that was on last week about self-love. There was a lot about imposter syndrome in that conversation. So if you want to know more about that, go back and check last week's video. Again, apologies for the sound issues my end. So I understand that from a point of I've sat through that as well. But then I think, well, actually, it's most people have the best experience and qualifications in life for having lived through what it is that they're doing as an expert. You know, you can't be an expert carpenter unless you've done carpentry. You can't be an expert lawyer unless you've worked through legal issues. And as an emotional awareness expert, the one thing I've learned is that when I have something outside the norm in an emotional situation, whether it is something that's made me stressed or anxious or angry or depressed or whatever it is, even something that makes me happy and feel joyful, I see, for me, because of what I do, everything is an opportunity to study how I feel in that moment. And the one thing I'd never had a chance to explore until this year was the difference in depression being around other people and depression and loneliness combined. And that's the one that I've found really hard hitting this year. But again, I've also not just been going through it and sitting with it, but studying it, you know, like trying to observe myself objectively, because it makes it easier to sort of accept what I'm going through. And then to be able to say, actually, no, this is interesting, because it gives me an opportunity to get the sensation of what that's like, so that when I talk to other people, when I talk to clients, you know, when I'm talking to other people in public speaking or on video like tonight, I then have that experience to share, not just talking about it from some clinical textbook sort of experience or perspective. So it's like anything, when you've been through it yourself and you've sat with it, it makes it easier to talk through or share. And so hopefully that comes across in what I do, that I've not sat here and had this perfect life where I'm all happy. I don't want to be sitting here and saying, oh, you know, you should trust me because I've been through all of that. It's not about that. But it just gives me that authentic place to come from. Not somebody who's like just been through school and college and university, and then said, right, that's it, I'm going to be a life coach or whatever, and I'm going to sort the world's problems out, but without ever having experienced problems of my own. And although people can do that and can be very successful at it, it's a whole different level when you can have that conversation from a point of empathy. So I'm hoping that's inspired some of you tonight, that next time you get a day when you don't feel okay, don't fight it. Right? Don't fight it. Don't necessarily give into it and let it win, but sit with it and observe it. Observe, how does it make you feel? Why does it make you feel like that? What's going on that's changed to make you feel like that? And what, acknowledging, do you know what, actually, maybe this is my rock bottom moment. Acknowledging it and saying it's okay. That's okay to have a rock bottom. Because rock bottom one day might be you just pulled the dinner out of the oven and dropped it on the floor, and now you're frustrated, you've got to go and cook dinner all over again. Another day it might be something far more serious. Or it could just be, like I said, lack of happiness. We talk about creating a balance in life, and if you're not putting in these things up here to make you happy, and unfortunately that's what happened in my life, is I've kind of lost this bit up here, and I've lost the things that were going on in my life that I would have created a balance with, and without them, when I'd done all the book and the website and all those things that I was focusing on to stay positive, and it was when all of those had come to an end and there was nothing new replacing them, that the emotional cycle will naturally change. It's not intentional. It can't be helped unless you put those good things into your life again. But it gives you the knowledge to know how to deal with it next time, and recognise, okay, so I'm sad, I've got to work out what it is that's making me sad. How can I feel differently about it? Maybe I'm angry about something. Do I need to go and actually have a conversation with somebody? Or do I need to change the way I think about it? And again, if you're feeling depressed, okay, maybe that's because there is some sadness and anger there, but also maybe you're lacking something that's giving you that positivity in life, with the release of dopamine that you get from, and serotonin, I should say, the serotonin that you get. The serotonin release is like the reward. When you actually achieve something and you get a reward that makes you feel like, yes, I've achieved something. And that is why when people are in a state of depression, their emotional cycle will automatically still seek that dopamine release. And when that's not coming from everyday activities, and it's not coming from the environment around you, that's when people start to seek it from things like, for me, I'll get it from watching a movie or playing a game on the mobile phone. Other people might get it from smoking, drinking, taking drugs. Sex is another one. And this is where all the addictions come in. So that's the other thing to be aware of. When you sink into that depression, what is your go-to for your serotonin release? Right? And I think that's important to recognise this, because for two reasons. One is recognising when something is a genuine addiction that could be harmful to your everyday activities, that could actually be preventing you from recovering. Like, for example, drugs and alcohol. If you're somebody who turns to those regularly on a low day or at a low time, is there something else that you may be able to turn to that's less harmful to give you that same sensation of release of serotonin? And then the other thing is being able to recognise that, okay, I'm having a low day. What could I do to make myself feel better in absence of the things that should make me feel better? So what are those things that you can use constructively? And for some people that might be sports, that might be doing artwork, might be going for a walk, it might be phoning a friend. But it's a similar kind of thing. I mean, teenagers, we know they get stressed at school, and they come home and they get on their mobile phone, and next thing you know, they've run up a £300 or £400 phone bill, ringing their friends, because they get that dopamine release from, I keep saying dopamine, serotonin. Dopamine is the reward-based chemical, so that this is what happens. You get into the state of depression or into a feeling of feeling low, and the dopamine kicks in to say, come on, you've got to do something about this. We need to take action. So the dopamine is the one that drives you to seek reward. And when the right rewards are not in place and the right actions, that is when we'll go for the wrong actions, which are the addictions and the habits. That can be bad habits. But that is why building good habits in their place with other activities that can give you that same sense of driving towards something, motivation, will then give you a sense of achievement, which is followed with the serotonin when you get the achievement level. The serotonin kicks in. I was watching this the other day. It was really interesting, actually. It's like a nerve ending comes down, and then there's a receptor, like a area with receptors, and there's a gap in between. And the nerve ending will release the serotonin, and the serotonin then goes, it's like a neurotransmitter that connects with the serotonin receptors. But we never get to a point where we go, yeah, we're happy, and we stay there. And I hadn't understood why, but I knew there was a purpose for it. And imagine a caveman. He's been out hunting and he's been motivated. So we go into the positive red. So we go, red is action, positive is motivated, as opposed to negative is aggressive or angry. So a caveman has gone into motivation, he's gone into positive mode to go out and hunt. So his body's chemistry drives him to go and hunt for food. But when he's hunted for that food, if he was to stay in that mood, what would be the point? The point is he's managed to catch his food, and then he's suddenly got this serotonin release, like, yeah, I'm happy. And it's this sense of completion. It's telling him, this serotonin release is telling him, yes, you've done your job. You've done well. You've actually completed. You can stop feeling angry and motivated now, because that now no longer serves a purpose. But neither does staying happy. Because otherwise he'll just sit there for the rest of the night going, yeah, I'm happy, I've got my food, so what? But he now needs to move into a thoughtful phase where he now thinks about his family and taking food home to his family. So the serotonin only sits on the nerve receptors for a short time. And that is why when somebody does something really, really funny and we laugh, but it only lasts for a short time before we stop laughing, and then everybody's like, really good laugh, and they're like, oh yeah, that was fun, and then you move off to the next phase. So the emotional cycle will never stick. It always keeps moving you around to the next moment. And so the serotonin will get uptaken again by the neurotransmitter, sort of the nerve endings. It is really quite fascinating. I'm not a neuroscientist or anything, but it was really quite fascinating just watching or learning about this recently. And so people who get to a real clinical depression where they are unable to find those activities to increase the serotonin in their body, what they do is give them chemicals which are serotonin uptake inhibitors. So where the serotonin is produced by happy moments, but then the body takes it back again, these particular antidepressants will slow down the process of the body reabsorbing the serotonin, of the nerve endings retaking them away from the receptors. So there's a reason why these antidepressants happen. But I think you've got to be in a really extreme state for that to happen. It's up to every individual when they feel that's right for them to do that. But to me, the more understanding you have about this process, the easier it is to go, do you know what, that's my rock bottom moment. What would I normally do? What would my normal go-to habit be? Is it a good habit? Is it a bad habit? Is it going to destroy my day even more, like drinking or taking drugs? Or is it going to be something that is just going to allow me to sit with it and ride through it, like maybe putting a good movie on, have a cup of tea or a bit of chocolate cake maybe? Or is it something, maybe you're the kind of person who is, in those moments, more adrenaline based and you're motivated to get up and go out for a walk and or run or go to the gym or go swimming, whatever you do, and actually have some habits in your life that are positive that create that serotonin again in that way. So it's really quite interesting to see how when your emotional cycle goes round and you say it's okay not to be okay, there is a reason for that. When you understand that rock bottom moment and sit with it and understand it in terms of how it works in your life, when you, if and when you get there. I know not everybody does. Some people are really, really fortunate and don't get depression. They don't get those really, really rock bottom days. They get off days, and that's the worst it is for them. And I very much envy those people. that they have that, and I'm not dishing against those people in any way whatsoever. They're very, very fortunate. But there are many, many, many people on this planet who are not that fortunate, who do get down days, who do get difficulties understanding their depression. And there is so much clinical, psychological knowledge out there, but what we need is people to start beginning to understand themselves. So whether it's you understanding yourself, if maybe Chris not turning up tonight just meant that I've managed to sit here and waffle away about it's okay not to be okay as my backup topic for the night. If we've managed to fumble through that and it's helped somebody to understand those rock bottom days a little more, it's worth it for me. I've got a comment about Mind the Gap a little while ago, and I've been sitting there thinking, I can't remember what I said now and what that was for, but thank you very much, thank you. And so, yeah, it's hopefully inspired somebody tonight that next time they're having a low day is to realise that, in the words of Chris, it could have been worse. Or against the words of Chris when he was in those moments, it could have been far worse. And there's always something could have been worse. And that's not to say that what you're going through shouldn't be acknowledged, because whatever feelings you have are valid. All feelings are valid. And that's the most important thing about it. And if people around you are not validating your emotions, then that's another thing to be aware of. Do you need them to validate your emotions, or can you start to do that for yourself? Validate your own emotions. Or if you do need somebody to talk through that with you, and this is another really, really important thing I want to talk about. So many people that I've witnessed in life who are going through difficult times believe that when you're going through a rough time, your family are the people you should turn to talk to. And for a lot of times, when you've got challenges in life, yes, you turn to family. Like when I left home, washing machine goes wrong. Dad, can you come and help with the washing machine? It's gone wrong. You know when to ask for help when things are going wrong, and you need support of your family, absolutely, without a doubt. But when somebody's going through clinical depression or any other kind of very stressful situation, it might be something trauma based from the past, or even more recently. But whatever it is, your family are not qualified counsellors, unless you're fortunate to have a qualified counsellor in the family, and the chances are you probably don't want to go and speak with them anyway because they're family. So this is where I want people to acknowledge that when we say it's okay not to be okay, that also means it's okay to ask for help. And it's okay to ask for help outside the family, to ask for help professionally. And if you don't want to do that through doctors and through a route where it will go onto your medical records, there are people you can contact privately. It will cost. Sometimes there are charities you can go through. So it's always a way of getting support. But again, being able to understand that little bit more about the emotional cycle, about the 4 core emotions, about your rock bottom moments, your go-to habits, good or bad, and being able to recognise when to seek outside help and the type of help that you need. Again, I think that's really, really important to acknowledge that it's okay not to be okay, and it's okay to ask for help. Because actually it takes quite a bit of courage to acknowledge that you need help sometimes. And was it Jeff said, it's brilliant, Kate, another one of life's challenges for you tonight, and you've dealt with it like a true professional. Oh, thank you, Jeff, thank you. Oh, bless. Yeah, definitely a challenge when I have no guest speaker. And like I say, all I had in mind tonight was that if for some reason it was, when you have that gut feeling, that real gut feeling that as much as everything looks like it's absolutely flowing perfectly, and he'd acknowledged with me this morning he's going to be on the show, he was going to be here at 10 to 6, 6:50, yeah, so he was going to join me at 6:50, but you have that gut feeling that even though everything looks perfect on paper, it's just not going to work out that way. And I still don't know why I get these gut feelings and why they're always so accurate. but they are, and I have to be prepared. So yeah, I literally came on here tonight with the topic, it's okay not to be okay, as my backup, and no plan whatsoever of what to say. But this is part of when you know your topic. And I said beginning earlier on that I have these moments of imposter syndrome where I get a bad day and then I think, well, who am I to talk about it? And then look what I can do. I can come on here and 45 minutes later, I'm still filling in and hopefully not duplicating myself too much. Please tell me if I am. And I still see people watching, so thank you. I love you so much just for being here with me this evening. And it's amazing once you know your topic, you know you can run with it. It's not a problem. I've had the training in the past for public speaking, and this is very different. Isn't I haven't pre-planned a beginning, a middle, and an end, but you can run with it, and it's just having that confidence. And that's the interesting thing as well. Confidence is another one that people associate with lack of happiness and depression. But I actually see confidence as almost a separate thing, because I think you can go out in life and be confident about doing certain things. Like, you know, I can have a really, really bad week and you wouldn't know it because I've come on here and I'm confident enough to talk to the camera for an hour on my own, and just, you know, amazing to have the chat tonight. So thank you so much for that. But it's that confidence is more about what you know, rather than how you feel. More about what you know and what you've done. That's more about based on experience and knowing that I've done it before, I can do it again. Knowing your topic, and everybody's got a story to tell somewhere that they know. And it sounds odd being able to get on the camera and talk for an hour, but how many times have you ever met up with a friend and you have a coffee or you have a beer together, and a few hours later you're still just like chatting away. You don't think twice about what you're going to say then. The conversation just flows. And to me, it's very similar. And I just have to, apart from, you know, when you've put in chat up, it's amazing. So well done for tonight. Take care. Thank you, Yvette. That's lovely. But I have to almost, to an extent, imagine what you would be asking me and then just answer it as if I'm having the conversation on my own, which can feel a little weird, but it again, practice. And that's the other one. I'm not going to go right through to the full hour tonight, but I will finish a little bit early because I'm doing a lot of talking on my own. But one of the other things that I've heard a lot of is if you are not comfortable doing something, do it until you're comfortable with it. And if you'd have asked me probably 4 or 5 years ago, actually to be even 2 or 3 years ago, to get on a camera live and talk for an entire hour without a script, I would have probably run for the bathroom in a hurry, run for the hills. But the more I've done it, the more comfortable I've got with it. And that is different to having the depression. Right, okay, I'm going to have to read it just briefly. There we go. I always say there's a reason why somebody doesn't turn up when they've confirmed. Oh my goodness, right. Chris has responded, sorry, my son was involved in an accident. Please accept my apologies. I'm so sorry. I will reschedule if you want at your convenience. Oh, bless him. Well, let's hope there's nothing too serious. Let's hope it's, oh my goodness, let's hope it's just minor and he'd got to retrieve the car and he's okay. I'm sure we will find out in due course. But I thought there was a bit odd that, you know, you have this gut feeling someone's not going to turn up, but then you always know there's a reason. I never feel angry somebody doesn't turn up. I never feel disappointed. I just feel like these things happen for a reason, and I hope that tonight we've managed to come up with something really constructive, that it's inspired somebody, or that if you feel that you know somebody else who's struggling, like they're struggling to acknowledge their rock bottom moment, to recognise that emotional awareness, to be able to sit with it. They're trying to fight it in the wrong way and they're lost and they just keep going off in the wrong direction. You can see it heading for disaster instead of heading for a happy place. Please, anybody like that, please do put them in touch, or share this video with them. And just keep spreading the word. That's the key word for me. Keep spreading the word. And that's actually another thing, spreading the word. This week, it's interesting actually, because when I met Chris Moon, who should be on tonight, when I met him, yeah, bless, I know, really, thank you, Jeffy. Our thoughts go out for Chris and his son. Same here, honestly, truly hoping they're okay. He's messaging within the hour of what should have been on here, so hopefully it's all okay. I've just lost my thought process now. I do this at some point every week, don't I? Lose my thought process. Just gone completely blank. Do you know what? I'm going to tell you something funny. I've talked a lot about depression, so I'm going to tell you something really, really funny. I rang my daughter today. This was the best moment of my day today, right? Well, it's certainly her best moment. We ended up in tears, but good tears. I sat here today and I picked up my phone and I rang my daughter. But as it started to ring, I thought, you know, it's like when you get on the phone with your daughter, this could take a while. So rather than sit here and hold the phone up for an hour, I thought I'll put my headphones in. So my headphones were sitting down on the table, but the plug was over in the computer as it is now. So I picked up the phone, I reached over to pull the jack plug out of the computer and stuck the jack plug in my ear. I thought, oh, that's a bit cold. Just as my daughter answered the phone, as I plugged it in, and when I told her what I'd done, that's it. We were just laughing and laughing and laughing on the phone. The thought of me just unplugging my headphones to stick the jack plug in my ear. I've never done that before. It woke me up. So that was my happier moment today. It was a really, really silly one. But there we go. So yeah, so thank you so much for everybody tonight. Anyway, I'm not going to carry on for too much longer, but say just for anybody out there who is feeling lost, you feel like they may need to connect with this, please do share it. That's where I was going 4 years ago-ish, just over 4 years ago, when I met Chris, when he came to where I worked to do that talk. It was actually, I met him the day before I handed my notice in to leave the wind farm. And I met him in, I think it was in the March time. And it was also only about a week or two after I'd done my TEDx talk. So that's how early on in this journey. Yeah, laughter's the best medicine, absolutely. It certainly was for me and Heidi this afternoon. We had such a laugh over that. We were crying on the phone. The thought of me just sticking my plug in my ear instead of in the phone. The headphones were on the desk and the wrong end in me. That was cold. Anyway, but yeah, certainly the TEDx talk, I did that back in 2017 in the March. And at the time I was thinking, even if that hit 500 views in the first year, I'd be happy, and it hit 1,000, and it upped a little bit more by the following year. It's now just over 4 years, 4.5 years, and this week it has just topped 16,000 views. So please, if anybody just goes to YouTube and searches my name, Kate Reeve, and you feel inspired to share the TEDx talk, just keep sharing the word to inspire other people. It tells a little bit more on there about the emotional cycle as well. So between this video, between that video, just people, please just share any of them. And I want to thank you all for being really, really patient and sitting through with me tonight. And I can't say it's a sense of relief that I know Chris is okay. So it wasn't anything personal. I think it's a relief that it wasn't anything personal. He hasn't turned up. Unfortunate that he hasn't turned up for obviously something's happened. And fingers crossed absolutely that everything's okay for them. I'm sure we'll update soon. And Chris, we will reschedule. So as I said, I need some more speakers on the line, and Chris is going to be one of them now. And again, if anybody knows anyone who does podcasts or live videos or has got a story to share that they feel would inspire other people and are willing to come on here and talk, please do put them in touch with me. I would love to have them on the show. So thank you ever so much to everybody for sitting through with me tonight. I'm now going to go and get a nice warm drink and head to bed early because I've got a meeting at 6:30 in the morning. And going outside comfort zones, as they say. It will be the first face-to-face meeting this year for a group meeting, because we've been doing the meetings weekly on Zoom. they've been doing it since the start of lockdown, but I joined in February. So I've been meeting a group of networking people online every week since February, and tomorrow I actually get to go and meet them all in person in a large meeting room with plenty of room for us to space out and sit socially distanced, but actually get to see people face to face while I'm talking to them. And tonight I can only imagine all of your faces, so thank you to Yvette, my front row lady as always every week. Thank you. Thank you to Jeff for sitting in tonight, and it was great to have a talk with you earlier today as well. And thank you to Karen and Warren and Heather for watching in from Arkansas, and to anybody else who's popped in and out, because I've seen the little eye blinking the numbers up and down there all evening, or if you're watching on replay later, again, thank you so much for having watched through, and absolutely loved having you all here tonight, and hugs and healing to you all. Take care and see you all next week for Duncan Bashton Brown. If I can say that right. Groggy to great. See you then. Bye bye everybody.